JB here. Friday morning, 9:10 a.m. This morning rant brought to you by Cracker Barrel. Joking again, sense my sarcasm. I'll talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P futures in the green here this morning. Yesterday in the red. So finally, maybe little signs of reversal. S&P has closed down 5 sessions in a row. But in 50 minutes time, we have Fed Chair Powell, and all things will change. He's going to come on talk. So if you've listened to some of his press conferences, especially as we got closer to Jackson Hole, he's been talking about this new Fed framework, right? Because the Fed, I guess, every 5 years has to address the framework. I don't know all the intricacies of it, but if you've listened to his press conferences, he always talks about his dual mandate, right? The dual mandate is 2% inflation and full employment, right? So every question he gets, typically when he runs out of answers, he just says, and it's in service of to get to the Fed's goal of full employment and 2% inflation, their mandates. And that's what he can use. So he'll talk a little bit about that. Probably going to roll back on some of that stuff in regards to employment, right? What is full employment? And probably change the wording a little bit in regards to inflation, that inflation may run above 2%. So what does that wording look like? Who knows what that framework? And then, of course, the big elephant in the room is, is he going to be dovish? Are they going to cut rates in September? Are they going to stay the course? And then who knows if he addresses the possibility of a resignation or the termination? You sit here and you have to think. I mean, people are posting his pictures coming off an airplane yesterday. I mean, you have to think, even if he says he's not, there's so much pressure on a Fed chair already. I mean, how many, if you've been around the financial crisis or any of these other big events with, the tariff situation, I mean, the COVID situation, all those different events that had to be navigated. I mean, there's a lot of pressure just on the Fed, on making Fed to cut decisions. And then, I mean, there's so much pressure on him when he does these press conferences. Back in the day, if you didn't know, I think it was Ben Bernanke, they didn't do press conferences. They would just do a Fed statement, and that was it. And then every quarter, one a quarter, there would be a press conference. Then I don't know if it's Janet Yellen, one of the Fed chairs decided that, hey, we're going to do a press conference after every Fed meeting, which I think is good, right? But it also it creates pressure, right? Pressure on Powell not to put his foot in his mouth. I think his first press conference or the second one, he said something and markets went nuts, like they tanked like 1% in a matter of like 30 seconds because he had like a little snafu. Uh, so a lot of pressure. I mean, I guess the more you do the press conferences, the better you get at it. The larger quantity removes the possibility of, the lag time in between the two press conferences or less. So opportunity to be a little more, to give more clarity, right? So no surprises. So we'll see what happens here today. I mean, if you looked at his face on that picture, you would think, I mean, maybe he's the bearer of bad news. I don't know. My worry and concern, I said at the start of the week, is that he's going to do a farewell tour. This is he seems like he's someone who's probably less apt to succumb to the pressures of outside influences, and he might do a drop the mic moment and be extremely hawkish. I hope that's not the case, right? If that's the case, got to watch 631 on the SPY. That's the big spot I was talking about at the start of the week. Got down to 633 on Wednesday, 633.51 on overnight session. Did we get to 633 yesterday? I think we were 630, just a little bit under 630, 634 at about 115 yesterday. So 633 first. Well, 636 is the big line in the sand for me. I want to see us stay above that. I'll be more apt to get some call lotto positions, possibly some spec lotto calls. On the flip side, obviously I'm gonna be patient 10 o'clock and then listen to his speech. But if we start selling off 633 first and 631 goes, I'll be getting some puts into next week. That's kind of your overall market. Nice headlines on Market Watch this morning. Take heed of the latest market wobble. You get warning shots before meaningful pullbacks. I posted this in the chat room. This is Market Watch because I always use it as whom. Usually, again, these headlines come up when not when the market is rallying and looking great. It's when there's cracks in the armor, right? So in that little piece, just talking about low volumes in the summer. I mean, summer traditionally has low volumes. It's just how it is. Low volumes mean that the market is. People are fully vested. That means that all the cash is into the market now, so there's less volume because you can make you put on your bear or bull goggles and you can make any argument for the market. We'll see what happens. I said at the start of the week too. I'm open to both sides here. I hope we find support. Fed Chair Powell can spin it somewhat dovish, and markets find footing. We can rally. The range, it was yesterday, was nearly 1%. Now it's like a 8% implied move. I think it's 630.95 and 641. So that's kind of like the trading range today. So hopefully some fun and some trader opportunities. Yesterday was kind of a day to sit on my hands. So with that being said, I mean, the VIX was up 8% yesterday, but on the week it's up 10%. All things considered, I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, it's the market kind of saying, okay, things can move here after Fed chip out. All right, so that's that. I put on the watch list this morning as well. Nice little clip it from the Wall Street Journal showing the data that's due out in the next month before the next meeting, right? And so the issue is right now there's still another jobs report to get through. There's another PCE data is a week from today just for this month. Then we get CPI and PPI for August in September, and this is all ahead before the next Fed meeting. So that's why this speech this morning has more importance because 2 rounds of data before the next Fed meeting. So all right, so that's the overall market. So now just quick on individual names. I'm not going to go on this whole tirade on Cracker Barrel like I did yesterday morning and yesterday afternoon. But just so my thought process on closing those puts out yesterday was that I thought the risk of some kind of activist news or some positive catalyst, whether it be increased stakeholding or some to that effect, was higher than a pull. And you look at the 200-day moving average 52.42. It seemed like once it got there, I'm like, all right, that's it. So I closed my puts out, tiny gain. I mean, could have got them out 50%. And then you watch this morning and it comes up on my little feed there. There's Becky Quick having some professor of some esteemed college or whatever come on and talk about Cracker Barrel. And he didn't even know, he might as well, whatever restaurant ABC, it didn't matter. So they go and talk about it, and then they go and talk about, and there's other competitive names in the space riding the bandwagon against Cracker Barrel. And who do they put up? Steak and Shake, right? Or is it Shake and Steak? Steak and Steak. And who owns Steak and Shake? Big Larry. Who has a 9% stake in Cracker Barrel? Big Larry. So it's like they don't even have that connection on there. It's like the clueless. It like takes away credibility in regards to their remarks on Cracker Barrel. But a name, I don't know if I'll revisit. We'll see. I mean, they'll have earnings in September. So maybe if it gets back, 60, 62 or so, maybe I'll look for some spec calls into earnings because you have to think there's going to be some pressure. I don't know when their quarter ends. So I don't know if that, if their quarter ends on the 3 months ended June. So if that's the case, you won't see impacts from this rebranding, but maybe they'll see trends in the stores already that they could speak to in their outlook. So that might be a trade there. But otherwise, I'll watch. If I see an opportunity, I'll get some more puts. But that was yesterday. So that was the only trade I made yesterday. And then the rest was kind of chopped. So Broadcom, AMD chopped around yesterday, red, green. And you look at the charts of AMD, Broadcom, and some of these other tech names, it's like very similar. Just a bleed to the downside, some slow bleeds, so no crazy moves. Like we've seen big pullbacks in the past, 4, 5, 6% on some of these names. Hasn't been the case. But some of these names are right near the 50-day moving average. Take a look at Broadcom, 281 or so. AMD and then NVIDIA had news after the close yesterday with reports that China's stopping orders on the HTO chips for NVIDIA. Who knows what that looks like? I don't know if that's going to put pressure on the chip names. But if the SPY does find pressure and Powell surprises, I will, surprises negatively in a hawkish spin. Those are names I'll continue to look for puts for next week, right? Broadcom and AMD. And then the flip side here, I mean, Reddit continues to be a name I watch, and I'm surprised yesterday it didn't have a bigger move to the upside, pretty much flat. I mean, you look at the candles on Reddit over the last month, and this is like the smallest intraday candle in recent memory. And what stinks with that is when you have a 7% implied move on a stock with 2 days to expiration, the premiums just get destroyed on both sides. So today might be the day I'll be watching. If it gets over 220, it's 217 here right now, and that's even with futures higher. So it's gapping a little bit lower. RBC Capital reiterated sector perform. Is that what I see? Sector perform, $210 price target. I don't know if that's having an impact, but that's been a nice lot. Same with MDB. MDB has had some, and I'll have to go back. I should have did. I just didn't have time to look at historicals, but you can see the historical moves the last couple of Fridays. I've gotten some lottos. We'll see. MDB reports earnings next week. MDB, Snow, NVIDIA. I'm trying to think of some of the other names reporting. There's a decent amount of names. Best Buy, some other retailers. Babla reports next week. So a lot of names are reporting. But with that being said, MDB premiums are almost unplayable, or at least for how I trade it. And then I was talking about yesterday, it's like the software names have come under pressure. You look at Intuit after the close yesterday. Monster monster quarter, and their guidance wasn't so bad. The stock's getting punished this morning, but almost unplayable for Intuit too. So if you want to get some puts, I think the 600 puts were over $1. It's sitting here. It's down what 7-8%, and the stock's at 650, and those 600 puts probably going to open half to 50% off, right? So it's going to get crushed despite getting the move right. But I don't know if that's a trend or a theme. So I'm a little cautious maybe into earnings next week with those names, MDB and Snow. I don't know if like the cycle of cloud names is that it for them, or is it going to be more of a reset? So, but with that being said, doesn't mean you can't trade for some lotto calls here today. So if the market does find footing, that's another name I'm watching. Walmart disappointing yesterday, despite a decent quarter. You have the Wall Street Journal coming out with another article this morning. This time instead of the article referencing just tariffs, despite tariff pressures, and then not highlighting any price increases. They came out with a nice piece around TJ Maxx and some of these other, how they're succeeding in an environment that might be a little, you know, uncertain, right? So I'll be watching. I still think Target's going to bounce at some point, but I'm not going to try and catch a falling knife here. So want to see some at least some support inside day yesterday, but that I mean, take that with a grain of salt with its huge move from earnings. So I mean, it could still have a big move and still have an inside day, meaning being between the highs and the lows of the day before. Walmart, on the other hand, like that might be the telltale. If Walmart can find a bid here today and it's kind of flat here in the pre-market, that might be a sign that Target's ready to bounce. So I'll be watching that. Walmart did announce that they might raise prices down the line in regards to tariffs, but it's like prices go up over time. It's just funny because there is a tariff situation, so people are waiting for these retailers to raise prices, but retailers raise prices all the time, right? I was I forget the conversation I was having in regards to coffee, but I remember like during COVID, you get the big jug of coffee. I forget what brand it was, but it's a heck of a lot less expensive now before than it is now. But that price hasn't changed too much over the last year. But that's just prices go up over time. You hate that people say, oh, prices. It's just a function of a functioning economy, right? That's just how it works, right? But so not going to go into economics 101 or whatever right now. But we'll see how this all plays out. But my point is, it's not like every earnings call they get on and ask Walmart, are you raising prices? They always raise prices. That's how it is. Every year when the Halloween decorations come out, they're whether it be 10 cents higher, 20 cents higher, they typically don't go on sale. I mean, they might have sales, right? But all right, rants for other days. Anyway, cautious into 10 o'clock. So, if things get crazy, I might jump on audio. I don't plan to be overly aggressive here today, but hopefully if there's some volatility, hopefully able to take advantage of some swings. So that'll be the plan today. And then again, if the poop hits the proverbial fan, the SPY starts breaking support. 631 is kind of like the line in the sand, and then I'll look for some puts into next week, because then you have to think the hoopla over the weekend it's just gonna be amplified with the 2-day weekend. People are just gonna amplify whatever surprise that Powell throws the market's way. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully in line or slightly dovish, market finds a bid, we melt higher. But if not, I just got to be prepared to that possible outcome as well. All right, so have a great day. I'll be back, folks. Rock and roll.